Howdy, folks. I'm Regal Rongenium, realistically rendering resentful renters.
I'm Amber.
And what are so resentful about the renters today? I can only wonder what. Let's get started. Alright, folks, and our first letter is titled, Am I a jerk for not wanting to give my younger daughter's future wedding fund to my older daughter's house deposit? I'm a 59-year-old male and my wife is a 53-year-old female, and we have two daughters. Let's call them Rose, a 27-year-old female, and Lily, a 24-year-old female, who both earn roughly the same amount of money. Quite a lot for their ages. Rose has a 2-year-old and a husband who earns a fair bit less than her, and Lily has a boyfriend who earns a bit more than her. They both inherited a big chunk of money from my mother, enough for 10 to 15% deposit on a house that they could realistically buy. Rose has always lived beyond her means, and certainly her husband's. They've alluded to using some of their house savings when their daughter, Poppy, was born, despite my wife looking after Poppy full-time whilst my daughter worked. Her husband has recently confessed that he hasn't saved a penny in almost 10 years that they've been together. On the other hand, Lily and her boyfriend have almost double the original amount saved and never seem to have any issues with money, while we constantly seem to be helping out Rose. Both girls are looking at buying houses. Lily and her boyfriend have been approved for a lovely house with a 25% deposit. Rose also had an offer accepted, but as it turned out, due to commuting costs and childcare from moving away, adding up to almost the cost of another mortgage, they will only be able to get a mortgage for roughly half that they thought, and they only have 5%. Rose told Lily this and asked how on earth that she had been accepted on a bigger house as a younger couple. Lily was honest and told her how much she made as a couple and how much they were putting down. And Rose broke down a little. She asked how much we had given Lily, and we told her nothing extra. That night, my wife and I were talking, and she said that she didn't realize how badly Rose was financially and how well along Lily was doing. We paid for Rose's wedding and plan to do so for Lily too, but so far she insisted that she doesn't want it and doesn't need it. I want us to keep the money for now so that we can still offer it to them when the time comes, even if Lily won't accept the money. But my wife wants to give the money to Rose, as she says that having a child makes things a lot harder. And she doesn't want the money to go to waste when our only grandchild doesn't have a home. Alright folks, what do you think? Jerk or not the jerk?
Not the jerk. I mean, I think it's kind of a jerky thing to go back on your word and take away a fund you have allotted for one person. And I think the bigger issue here is like money management is a skill that you can build. And if you're always bailing someone out, they never learn to build that skill. So I'm not saying that they should abandon Rose completely, but if they take over giving her like massive amounts of money to bail her out whenever she needs it, she and her husband are never going to start budgeting because mom and dad always save the day.
Yeah, I think that this is some of the issue there, is that mom and dad have come and saved the day every single time they've needed them to, and now it's catching up with them. And that's not to say that you shouldn't help them, but I think that a better help would be to either hire a financial advisor or sit down with them and their finances so that they can get their finances under control. Because if you don't control your finances will control you. And that's really what it boils down to at the end of the day. They need to be aware that if they don't save their money now, then they're not going to have any money in the future. And if they are saving this little money, then how are they even going to afford a house, right? This is a huge problem. They're going to have a house, but they're not going to have any money.
Yeah, and will they even be able to continually make their mortgage payments, or will they need help with that?
Yeah, what happens when they are no longer able to make the house payments? Are they going to call you and say, Ma, we aren't going to be able to make the house payments this month. You wouldn't want our grandchild not to have a house. Please pay us more money.
Like, it sounds like they have a suitable living arrangement now. It's just not a house they own. It sounds like a rental.
Yeah.
And, like, there's nothing wrong with renting. And I wish we lived in a society where home ownership was more affordable. But if they don't have good control in their finances, the last thing they need is a property that's going to drain all their excess funds.
Yeah. I mean, there is, of course, a point to be made on owning property, right? You can build equity and it can be a good investment. However, if you're not already investing and you don't have the resources, it can be a horrible investment, right? So if they get like a 30-year mortgage, they're going to pay twice what they're paying in principal on interest. So it might not be a good investment in that respect, right? So there is a fine balance between something that becomes a liability and something that actually is an investment. In their case, it sounds like what they're going to have is a liability. They're going to be stuck with a house for 30 years. They're not going to be able to pay it off in a timely manner. They're going to end up paying a huge amount of interest on it, and then any missed payments that they incur, and the list goes on and on and on.
Yeah.
It does not seem like a good idea.
Well, and I also want to tackle the point argument. Well, we can't have our grandchild not in a home. Children grow up fine in apartments all the time.
Oh, yeah.
Like, not everyone has the luxury of having a house, and so it's not a great harm to the child to grow up in an apartment.
No, no. And that's really what this boils down to. I think that they are going to be... I think they need to sit down and work out their finances and start saving well before they buy a house. And giving them this extra money for a down payment isn't going to help the situation. It's going to put a bandage on, a cut artery, and that's not going to go anywhere, right? Yeah, I just think that this isn't going to do them any favors. If you really want to give them money away, you can talk to Lily first and be like, we're going to give this money away if you don't want us to. If you want it, make sure to let us know. But, at the end of the day, it's only going to be, a temporary fix before the next time they need more money. But let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. And Content Plenty 268 says, not the jerk. Taking the money earmarked for Lily's wedding and giving it to Rose is literally throwing the good money after the bad. The difference between the two sisters is not how much they earn, but how well they manage what they have. Lily and her partner are financially savvy and responsible, and Rose and her husband are not. No matter how much money you give to Rose, it will always go to waste. Having a child your wife's been watching for free equals no child care expenses. So having a child is harder is just an excuse that your wife has made to guilt you. The child is not homeless. They have a roof over their head. You would not be the first set of parents who enable the less competent child at the expense of a more competent one. And this inequality and favoritism is rarely, if ever, does any favors for the parent's relationship with the more capable but less favored child, or the relationship between the siblings, favoring the child who has a child of their own over the child who doesn't, at least not yet, same. What is fair is fair. Unfair doesn't become okay just because Rose spends all the money that she gets her hands on. Alright folks, and our next letter is titled, Am I a jerk for not fighting the school to allow my daughter to do cheerleading since the athletic trainer denied her? I'm so tired and I need an outside perspective. The school athletic trainer, Beth, is a very strict woman. She started 2 years ago, and at the time I thought that she was just being a bee and on a power trip. She was not. All she was asking was for basic respect. This became really apparent when the school had a meeting about her and went through every single incident with her. They used the camera footage for a lot of the incidents. Parents know that the office is recorded, and it showed that the kids were awful, and she was professional. The kids were awful and really ended up having a tantrum when she told them no. Many times the kids called her names, and it really made me reevaluate my opinion of her. One example for reference, one kid needed to do a balance test and take off their shoes. She had a fit and refused to do so. The athletic trainer told her that it was fine, but without it she can't play. She took off her shoes and called her some lovely names, not to mention the parents were getting on her butt for it. Now, my daughter is a sophomore, 15, and she needs to do a concussion test in the winter. If she doesn't, then she can't do cheer. She knew about the whole thing, and they had a practice for the thing. She gave everyone a time to be in her office. My daughter got a time and didn't go at that time. She went at the end of practice when she was packing up. Beth told her no, and I'm embarrassed to say, but my daughter had a huge fit about it. Beth stood her ground and went home. Now she's on vacation and my daughter cannot do cheer until the concussion test is done. That will probably be done in December, so she's missing a ton of cheer events due to Thanksgiving's festivals. My daughter was mad and wants me to fight the school. I told her no, since I saw how she acted. I asked for the footage. That is what she gets for being inconsiderate to Beth. My wife wants to fight it, and both of them think that I'm a huge jerk. All right, folks, what do you think? Jerk or not the jerk?
Absolutely not the jerk. This wasn't one of those situations where something just came up and the daughter very politely requested an accommodation.
Yeah.
She missed her time. The coach told her no and she got belligerent. It's important that she learns now not to treat other people like garbage, before she gets to be an entitled adult.
Yeah, I mean, it's really unfortunate that the mother isn't doing more to enforce that this is not a good thing to be doing, right? Now, Beth is just being a teacher. She's trying to live her life and do her job. And it seems like these little kids are making a pretty big stink about what she's doing. Like, there's a lot of teachers who do get a lot of bad flack, but then you have a situation like this where the teacher is just doing their best job and the students are treating her with a lot of disrespect.
Yeah, well, it sounds like she's just not being a pushover like they want. And my guess is that maybe she's a younger teacher, relatively new, and so they think they can push her around, and they get especially upset with her when they can't.
Yeah, I mean, that could be. But I don't think that OP's in the wrong here. I think that they should stand their ground, and I think that they have a lot more respect for the teacher than their wife does, and that's unfortunate.
Well, and I know it is not a fun time for the daughter to miss the cheer events, but it's due to her decisions that she missed it,
Her own negligence in this case.
And it's, again, an important life lesson to learn that sometimes when you mess up, you can't immediately reconcile that.
Yeah. But let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. And OP replies to a deleted comment, "You're joking, right? An athletic trainer is a medical professional that has a medical license. Have you never done a sport? There should be an athletic trainer there at every game. Who do you think tapes up the kids when they get hurt? They are an emergency medical worker for sports. They are legally allowed to handle a ton of injuries." And Xandor72 says, "Just get the concussion check done at your child's doctor's office?" And OP replies, "You're going to pay for it. So if so, please link me your Venmo." I mean, that does, if they don't have good insurance, then that would be a reason why they wouldn't be able to go to their doctor's office for this. And Willing Helicopter 26 says, "Not the jerk. These kids sound awful to deal with. I'm glad the school has video footage of Beth's interactions because without it, she might lose her job due to unfounded accusations. These kids need to learn that there are consequences for bad behavior, and not being able to participate when you really want to is a great natural consequence." Numbers then 0987431 says, "To be honest, Beth will probably lose her job anyways. I have a hunch that these kids learn this behavior because their parents always stepped in to force teachers and trainers and coaches to give their kids what they want. So it's only a matter of time before one of the more influential parents from the PTA board demands that Beth be removed because her baby's scholarship is in jeopardy. I hate how parents act these days. I'm only 36, but the attitude of parents towards school officials is atrocious." And OP replies, "She won't. She isn't hired through the school. It's a contract with someone. She is also really good at her job, and the school has made it clear that they are not going to give her up. If she was going to be fired, it would have been when she had a large amount of football kids banned for the year because of their behavior." Oh, it sounds like Beth is taking names.
I love this. I mean, it's about time these kids get called on their bad behavior. Again, it's an important life lesson.
Yeah. And Lurker by Nature GT says, "She sounds like an important force for good in that school." And OP replies, "It caused waves when she came in. She isn't even over 30 yet, and she works for an excellent hospital with a master's degree. I think that she does clinics still even with this job. The first thing that I learned about her was that she moved a huge amount of the sports funds to her equipment. That made a lot of people mad, including me at the time, but I now understand why she did that. Her stuff is so much better now." And Tracy Olivia 14 says, "But is it a private school? It's hard to believe that kids get away with all this disrespect. She seems to have grown up in a privileged environment where she knows how to deal with the power and is comfy enough because her life doesn't rely on this." And OP replies, "It's public in a rich area. To be honest, the stories people are telling in this thread and stuff that I've seen online, it seems common now, not to mention the nightmare teachers have been going through for the last few years." All right, folks, it is tea time. Grab your beverages of choice. I've got some tea right here, and Amber, she has a joke.
What's a monster's favorite food?
A monster's favorite food is spook-getty.
I mean, that's a good one. I like it.
And that was my punchline for the ghost one.
Ham and legs.
Oh, ham and legs?
Yeah.
Oh, ham and eggs, ham and legs. I get it. Yeah, now I get it. Like, my brain took some time to process that one. And I have licorice spice. Alright, folks, that's all the time we have for today. Thank you so much for watching. Happy Friday! Wow, we made it to the end of the weeks, folks. Congratulations. It's been a long one. Amber, we need some kind of moral advice and or guidance. And please, have it in the form of how not to manage your finances.
How not to manage your finances. Step 1. Spend all your money, save nothing. Step 2. Run to your parents and ask for more money. Step 3. Go back to step 1. Rinse and repeat.
You know, you could probably get quite rich or quite poor with that methodology.
Well, because it requires you to spend literally all your money every time. So.
Yeah, if you just say you're spending it, though. Yeah. 4D chess, Amber. 4D chess. Oh, we have no money at all. Please give us some more money.
It also requires that your parents have money because we could go to our parents and we wouldn't get very much.
Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you all tomorrow.
Bye.